Seth M. Walker is an American scholar and writer who studies how religion and popular culture overlap. He earned a BA with honors in humanities from the University of Central Florida in 2007, where he also minored in anthropology. In 2009 he completed an MA in religious studies at the University of South Florida, writing a thesis about rainbow gatherings and how people there create meaning and community. He went on to finish a PhD at the University of Denver in 2021. His dissertation, Righteous Remixes, Sacred Mashups, argues that religious life often works like remixing in music. People combine old and new ideas to make something that feels authentic to them. The project was later recognized within the field of digital religion. Walker has taught courses in humanities, philosophy, and religious studies at the University of Central Florida, the University of South Florida, and Valencia College. His classroom work sits alongside public writing and editing aimed at making academic ideas easier to understand. In 2012 he co-founded Nomos Journal, an online outlet focused on religion and culture, and served as editor-in-chief until it closed in 2019. The project encouraged plain language conversations about how belief and meaning show up in everyday life, from film and TV to music and the internet. His publications reflect the same focus. His book, Religions Are Remixes, Rethinking Originality, Authenticity, and Authority in the Study of Religion, Routledge, 2024, lays out his core idea that traditions grow by borrowing and recombining. He has written peer-reviewed articles on topics such as Osamu Tezuka's Manga Buddha, the file-sharing movement known as copimism, and the ways digital culture shapes ideas of the sacred. He has also contributed to a major reference work on popular culture and religion in America and has written about creativity and copyright in online fan communities. Beyond that, he has penned accessible essays for general audiences and contributed chapters to volumes that use familiar movies, TV, music, and games to explore big questions. Across this work, a few themes repeat. He looks at how authority and authenticity are claimed, challenged, and remade, how people use stories and symbols from pop culture to express values, and how digital tools change what counts as religious practice. He treats culture as a living archive that people constantly rework. This 2009 paper, Broadening the Spectrum, The Religious Dimensions of the Rainbow Gatherings, asks whether rainbow gatherings, week-long, leaderless meetups built around peace, love, and communal living, function like a religion. Using a functional lens, what religion does, the author argues yes, the gatherings shared symbols, rituals, like the July 4th silence and daily circles, and temporary utopian community shape feelings, values, and behavior in ways typical of religion, often carrying over into participants' everyday lives. Using a substantive lens, what religion is, the fit is weaker, there's no single agreed upon supernatural being, doctrine, or formal clergy, just fluid spirit talk, influential elders, and decentralized practices. The takeaway is that rainbow gatherings look religious if you focus on effects and meaning, but not if you require explicit supernatural belief in institutions, and that scholars should use both lenses to understand edge cases and avoid drawing the boundaries of religion too narrowly or too broadly. The introduction sets up a simple question: do rainbow gatherings, big, leaderless, week-long camps built around peace, sharing, and family work like a religion? It explains why this matters. People usually describe the gatherings as social or political, not religious, and lays out the plan for the thesis. Use two classic ways of defining religion: what religion does in people's lives, a functional view, and what it is in terms of beliefs and institutions, a substantive view, to see how well rainbow practices and ideals fit. The intro sketches what the gatherings look and feel like: rituals, symbols, a temporary utopian community, and previews the payoff. By testing the rainbow scene against both lenses, we'll learn not only whether it counts as religion, but also what our definitions highlight or miss when we try to understand unconventional spiritual cultures. In definitional differences, the author says scholars usually define religion in two broad ways: functionally, what religion does for people, and substantively, what religion is at its core. Functional definitions focus on how religion helps people make meaning and cope with life, less about specific beliefs, more about the role it plays. Substantive definitions look for an inner essence, often a relationship with a higher power, so they care about supernatural claims and core beliefs. The section also notes the trade-offs. Functional views can end up calling secular things religious, while substantive views can be too narrow or culturally biased because ideas of the supernatural vary. In short, functional definitions cast a wide net by looking at effects, whereas substantive ones draw tighter boundaries by requiring some supernatural dimension. Strengths and pitfalls the thesis keeps in view for analyzing rainbow gatherings. In our rainbow gatherings religious gatherings? Seth Walker asks straight up whether rainbow gatherings count as religious and tests the idea using two classic lenses. He notes that the scene already has obvious religious bits, explicitly spiritual camps, a shared utopian ethic, consensus councils, and a stark rainbow versus Babylon worldview, plus hallmark rituals like the July 4th silent meditation for world peace that serves as the event's emotional peak. Through Geertz's functional lens, the gathering works like a religious symbol system. It offers models of and for reality, and its practices, for example, OM circles before meals/meetings, conflict calming OM circle, generate moods and motivations that feel real and guide behavior. You also see quasi-functionaries, informal elders, Shanti Sena, vibes watchers and moral guidance via rainbow wraps, which echo items on Wilson's list about rules and custodians, even without formal clergy. But judged by a stricter substantive lens, which expects a clear supernatural agent and hierarchy, the fit is shaky. The gatherings lack an explicit transcendent being and formal priestly order, so they only partially qualify. Symbol System and Agency says rainbow gatherings work like a big bundle of shared symbols that show people both what the world is and what it could be. Using Geertz's idea, the event itself, and things like the main council's consensus process and the non-cash trade circle model rainbow values such as peace, non-violence, sharing, and anti-commercialism. These practices make the ideals feel real on the ground, a model of reality, and act like a template people try to carry back home, a model for reality. On the question of agency, who or what is behind it all, the section notes there isn't a single, clearly defined supernatural being. Instead, if you take a broader view, the felt guiding force can be the community's collective will, the vibe of the gathering, or a reverence for nature, kinds of agency that don't fit a strict, traditional religious mold but still help explain why the symbols move people to act. Moods, motivations, and devotion explains how rainbow gatherings create powerful feelings, moods, and drive people to act, motivations, much like a religion does. Shared rituals, silent meditations, OM circles, drumming, shared meals, stir emotions like peace, awe, and belonging, which in turn motivate service and care for others, cooking in free kitchens, mediating conflicts, cleaning the land, and trying to live non-violently and generously. That steady follow-through is the devotion piece. People invest time, energy, and personal comfort to uphold rainbow values during the event and often back home too. In short, the gatherings don't just talk ideals, they make people feel them deeply and keep acting on them, which is exactly what classic theories say religion does. Conceptions of Reality and Religious Functionaries says rainbow folks share a pretty clear picture of reality. The world is split between Babylon, consumerism, coercion, ego, and a hope for alternative built on peace, sharing, nonviolence, and respect for nature. The gathering is staged as a living demo of that better world: gift economy, consensus councils, no buying or selling, communal kitchens, and daily rituals that reinforce the values. To keep it all running, there aren't priests or a formal hierarchy, but there are recognizable roles that act like religious functionaries: elders who guide by example, Shanti Sena who help keep the peace, kitchen crews who feed everyone, calm medics, vibes watchers who steady tense situations, scouts who find sites, and focalizers who link people and tasks. Authority is temporary and earned by service, guidance comes through widely shared wraps, norms, rather than commandments, and compliance is nudged by community feedback instead of punishment, so you get many of the functions of a religion without official clergy or dogma. The ritual section shows how ordinary rainbow activities are treated like sacred choreography that makes the community's values feel real. From the long walk into the site and the welcome home greeting, to daily OM or talking circles, shared kitchen blessings and free meals, drum and fire circles after dark, and the big July 4th silent meditation that swells into a collective OM, repeated practices mark time, set the mood, and bind strangers into family. Simple rules of thumb: consensus hand signals, gift economy trade spaces, clean up and leave no trace rhythms, function like rites, turning cooperation, non-violence, sobriety in family areas, and care for the land into lived habits. There's no priesthood running these moments. Crews, kitchens, medics, peacekeepers, and informal elders hold the space so that everyone can participate. The upshot: through patterned, participatory rituals, everyday tasks become meaningful acts of devotion, and the gathering models the kind of world it wants people to take home. Reality and Seriousness of Purpose argues that rainbow gatherings aren't just a feel-good festival, they're experienced as genuinely real and worth sacrificing for. People hike in with supplies, volunteer long hours in free kitchens and first aid camps, help mediate conflicts, follow norms like leave no trace and quiet family areas, and sit through long consensus councils because they believe the experiment matters. The big July 4th silence, daily circles, and shared work give participants a gut-level sense that the values, peace, sharing, nonviolence, respect for nature, aren't pretend, they're lived. That seriousness of purpose shows up in the willingness to endure discomfort, enforce community standards through gentle social pressure, and carry the lessons home by changing habits and joining service projects. In short, the gathering feels less like a party and more like a trial run of a better world, one participants treat with real commitment. In the conclusion, Seth Walker says rainbow gatherings look a lot like religion if you judge by what religion does. They use shared symbols and rituals to shape feelings, values, and behavior, and people treat the experience as real enough to guide their lives. But they don't fit as neatly if you require a clear supernatural being, firm doctrines, or clergy. The takeaway is that both ways of defining religion matter. The functional lens captures why the gatherings feel sacred and life-shaping, while the substantive lens explains why many observers hesitate to call them a religion. Using both helps us understand edge cases like rainbow without stretching the word religion so wide it loses meaning or keeping it so narrow it misses newer, non-institutional spiritual cultures.